What if America's biggest reshoring problem isn't China, it's not labor, and it isn't money, but electricity? What if the U.S. is rebuilding its industrial base faster than its power grid can physically support? It's not an if, it's a now. This is Geopolitics Unplugged, and this is the hidden energy cost of reshoring. We'll be looking at this issue over 5 parts. Part 1, the regime change. Over 40 years, U.S. electricity demand barely grew at all. It was flat consumption, predictable peaks, slow and manageable expansion. The entire American power system, generation, transmission, regulation was built around one assumption: demand moves slowly, and that assumption is now dead. Reshoring doesn't add load gradually. It arrives in blocks, in semiconductor fab, an electricity plant, hyperscale data center. Each one adds electricity demand of a mid-sized city almost overnight. This is not an incremental problem. This is a regime change. Part 2, why planning is breaking us apart. Traditional grid planning works in marginal systems. Small errors are tolerable. Timing mismatches are survivable. Reshoring breaks that model. Industrial loads are continuous, high intensity, permanent. Once connected, they're locked in for decades, and they do not arrive smoothly. A single fab can add 200 to 400 megawatts in one connection. Transmission takes 5 to 10 years to build. Permitting takes years. Generation lags by design. Demand now moves faster than the grid can physically adapt to. And that's the core problem of this mode. Part 3, infrastructure is consuming the grid. Here's the paradox. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is strengthening the grid. It is also one of the largest short-term loads the grid has ever faced. Just roadway construction alone will consume roughly 35 million megawatt hours of electricity. That is 3 million households for a year, nearly 1% of the total U.S. consumption before a single road produces productivity, and that excludes ports, rail, bridges, transmission itself, and burning the capacity all the way down is the problem with the grid. Part 4, manufacturing is the first wave. Manufacturing construction has nearly doubled since 2021. Each facility hits the grid twice, first during construction and then second during permanent operations. At TSMC's Arizona complex, construction alone consumed hundreds of thousands of megawatt hours. Once operational, each fab rivals a city. These are not projects, these are lifetime load commitments. What breaks apart first is part 5. In a step function demand system, failure happens in sequences. First, interconnection queues freeze. Second, regional power prices spike. Third, utilities impose moratoria. Fourth, reshoring geography fractures. Investment shifts not balanced on labor or incentives, but on substation proximity and transmission headroom. Power becomes the binding constraint. In closing, what's this all mean? For the first time in modern U.S. history, electricity outranks labor, capital, and trade as the primary industrial constraints. Power cannot be imported quickly, it cannot be stockpiled cheaply, and it cannot be negotiated with by way of politics. Reshoring doesn't engage in trade talks. It will be decided in substations, switchyards, and transmission corridors. Grid physics does not negotiate. It simply enforces the ceiling. So this is like how things really break in our system. When there's too much going on, and reshoring is one of the dynamics. In the next part of the series, we'll be talking about the other parts of the dynamic and how are we going to get all of this energy. That's what we really are talking about, is energy needs. And just click on the subscribe and like this so you can get our next one and help get the word out so we can talk about what really matters, which is energy flows. And I'm Justin McShane from www.geopoliticsunplugged.com, where we do the rapid read every day. We do deep dives weekly, and we are here to make sure that you're in the know. So make sure that you like and subscribe and check us out. See you next time. Cheers.